Hey guys, look at us. It is three of us wrestling fans. I figured we would start something new, a podcast. This is Bandana Gamer for those who have been with the channel forever, when this was a video game channel 1,000 years ago. Bandana was one of the guests there, and we would actually talk about wrestling when, things got off the air, and people would say, it's fake, right? And I'd be like, what are you talking about? Anyways,
Oh, yeah. Totally.
so
I'm totally that guy. Hey, you guys get this as like not actually happening fighting.
right? So, anyways, I brought him back, and then we got Jeremy right there. Jeremy is, I've only met him a week ago. 1 week, we've already had an argument, and if we ever do a Patreon channel, who knows, maybe we'll have the argument for you guys. But anyways, it was
a
a
premium live event.
premium live event. Anyways, let's just jump into it. They'll get to know us as we talk and we experience the channel. We'll go live eventually, maybe even next time. Hopefully we can do this once a week, but we just wanted to get it started. We have a hard out today, so John, if you could make sure at least like 10 minutes, 5 minutes before that you say, hey, we got to get this going. But I want to talk the draft. The two big things that I see happening right now, we are coming off of WrestleMania 40, but the draft is happening, and Tony Khan is like wearing a neck brace to like the NFL draft. So that I thought that was super cool. But let's talk the actual WWE draft. What are your thoughts? Mine are, in short, it sucked. And yeah, why don't you go, Jeremy?
Man, I tried to be positive before I'm negative, right? And so I can say for me, I you know what I'm saying? I don't really try to hide who I am. You know what I mean? And so I will say that in terms of trying to acknowledge positive things about what's happening there, it's beautiful to see Bianca Belair represented as the first draft pick, whatever, with as much symbolism as that can mean in the tragedy that is the WWE draft, right? But I'd say that, like we've said to each other several times by this point, they haven't constructed it to really mean anything. Whether it's because, like John Brown has said earlier, and I don't want to take your point, but like you said earlier, superstars aren't really truly associated with either brand. Right. And so switching between the two doesn't mean anything, especially when the championship switched ways willy-nilly. And so I'll leave it there.
That is a fair point. However, now that we're in the Triple H era, and even though Triple H is kind of like, he has been in charge for probably 2 or 3 years, maybe, but Vince McMahon still loomed overhead, and Vince McMahon had the giant veto. So what if we just go off the assumption that we give him the benefit of the doubt that this is truly back to a brand split. That after like starting next week or after Backlash, Cody won't be on Raw anymore. Jay Uso won't be on SmackDown ever, except for that one WrestleMania match and during Survivor Series. So let's pretend that the drafts do mean something. Right. I mean, the brand split does mean something going forward.
Yeah.
So let's go into that assumption. Because it did when it first started in like 2002 or 4 or whatever it was.
Sure.
So that said, now in that, does that change anything for you?
I've been hurt so many times before. No, like that's like legitimately, I think that's kind of my thing is it's hard to even argue that because I thought that was going to happen when Fox got involved.
Yes,
makes sense. Fox, they're on a major broadcast network. There was clearly a shift to try to make SmackDown the A show.
Yep, which I believe they did.
They did and they didn't. I don't know, like if that was successful. I think if they had been able to get it to the A show status, we'd still be going on Fox for another few years.
But could you please remember that for a second? There is no A show because the difference between the brands doesn't matter. Like you were saying, like there is no. I'm willing to say there is no A and B show because, like you said, like you were saying earlier, Ken, Cody's been showing up on SmackDown and Raw with the same pomp, same circumstance, same amount of mic time.
But that's
week
Cody.
after week.
That's Cody.
Yeah, you're right. You know. And before that, it was just Roman.
And he only appeared.
But when there needed to be, but check me out. When there needed to be a bloodline presence that represented Roman, Solo and Jimmy and Paul E. Heyman had no problem getting to Raw, being on Raw, having access to Raw superstars. Like it's just WWE on Monday and WWE on Friday. There really is not.
All right.
Would y'all like to make an argument?
I want to push against that. I would request to push against that, my gentlemen. Even going back to the Attitude Era, because I'm a nearly 40-year-old guy, and that's how we look at all wrestling.
Yeah.
Is there was when there was no rosters, there was just WWE. The SmackDown was seen as the B show. Really, Raw happened. Fallout from Raw, set up the pay-per-view, fallout from setting up the pay-per-view, Raw fallout. Yeah, SmackDown always responded to Raw. Even when they would have The Rock on there. So
for the most part, yes.
Yeah, I to me the rosters is not saying like I always felt like the roster switch and break was meant to actually bring SmackDown up to a level where there was no A show, B show. There was Raw and SmackDown. Mm-hmm. They were just different things.
Do you want to know a fun fact? That
sure.
Eric Bischoff beat Raw, right? He beat him in the ratings. Yeah. And they claim that is the only time anybody has ever beat Raw in the ratings. But there's actually another time. If you go by ratings alone, Paul Heyman's SmackDown beat Raw, and Paul Heyman will be the first to say this. No, we beat Raw. We would beat Raw, but you could argue that they had more availability because they were on like UPN, I think, or CW. But anyways, go on.
They were on UPN, and they crossed the line from UPN to CW.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry if that derailed.
John, what are you drinking?
Water. By Universe.
I was like, what is that strange orange
but eventually, though, if we get sponsors, we'll only drink what you want us to. We will bow down to our corporate overlords.
Like a Mussolini.
I'm willing to drink Prime on the air. I'm just saying.
Listen, I'm trying to get a Pepsi sponsorship.
Speaking of Pepsi.
But yeah, so I think if this draft is fine if we're actually going to establish brand distinction. I think it is a harder sell to me that that's actually what's going to happen. Because last year's draft, AJ Styles was drafted to one show and he was on the next week. He had a match on the other show.
And speaking of AJ Styles, was it the wild card? And speaking of AJ Styles, as was pointed out earlier in the week, he is the number one contender, and he was drafted in the fourth draft round on SmackDown. Yeah. Whereas LA Knight, who he beat to become the number one contender, was in the first round.
Yeah,
how does that make sense?
That does not make sense. Or why?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. I try to leave that part of the logic equation out of it. You can only go so far because there's no excuse. You're right. AJ should have been drafted.
It just doesn't matter because it just doesn't mean it's very whose line is it anyway? It's the WWE draft where where it just doesn't matter.
We come out, we say some names, we say a show.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean to be fair, I'm going to steal a point Hogan made. I'm going to give credit where credit's due on this.
That doesn't work for me, brother.
WWE has cultivated a space where the brand WWE is the attraction more than anything else. And I think that's why it makes sense for Cody to bounce back between the two because it makes the WWE money. Versus like if they had him just on SmackDown, it would be negating, there's a possibility that Raw wouldn't draw or whatever. So on one hand, I personally want Raw to not only have a different roster, I don't want Raw to touch SmackDown except for maybe at WrestleMania. And I want Raw to be Raw. Like I want it to have kind of an ECW more hardcore feel than the polished show it has been. But until like I actually see that happen, the draft will remain meaningless.
Wait, so in this John Brown land, right, that you described, right?
Bandana Gamer's name is John Brown, so that's why
I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, no, just being called Bandana is actually pretty dope. I was like, oh, that's hard as shit when Ken said it the first time. Anyway, what about Survivor Series? Would you be fine at SmackDown and Raw?
I mean, I'd be fine with we could look at the quarterlies with them touching every so often. If there's a good psychological reason, and is that to me is a great use of actually promoting the whole WWE.
Or do it every other, like one time is War Games, one time is brand supremacy.
But I think honestly, I would, if we are going from a draft to, there's still more draft tonight. I would not want those rosters to touch until we got to Survivor Series personally.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I did a video about how bad the draft sucked, and it was basically, and 100% agree. If let's see, if Bianca Belair shows up on Raw 2 weeks from now, then yeah, the draft is completely whatever.
And she will.
Let's just say that she doesn't, and it's a true brand. Because look at Triple H. Yeah. Look at Triple H. He loved that Intercontinental belt, and look at where the Intercontinental title is now. You know what I mean? You got Chad Gable. The way Chad Gable just recreated himself based over the Intercontinental belt seems like it's like he views that IC belt like a heavyweight belt even. So that's how much the IC belt means right now. And so Triple H has taken great lengths to rebuild it. I don't know. Maybe Vince had some part of it. I mean, I don't know. But regardless of the fact is, Triple H loves these long title runs, and they're happening. And I think Triple H really valued the brand split, too. Because in the brand split, he had Evolution, right? Mm-hmm. But on the other show, they had the SmackDown 5. Triple H can see he experienced it. He also experienced the Attitude Era, and knowing that, an edge, a rawness, even a couple F-bombs, the effect it can have, or blood and stuff like that. So it's like, he's definitely taking some of the best element out of these things, and I'm really hoping he takes the best elements out of the brand split and make it happen.
Tell me, Ken, I want to know from both of you, if you can think real fast, give me your top 3 things, just plainly, to make the draft better, or even just to make it matter.
Top 3? Okay.
Yeah, top 3.
I'll go with the first one, and we're going to assume that the given. So we can't say this, me or you, Bandana. The given, or maybe Bandana already said it even, is that they matter. Okay, Bianca can't show up on Raw in 2 weeks unless it has something to do with the women's tag team title, which is in her brand. So we can say LA Knight. How about that? LA Knight cannot show up on Raw in 2 weeks. Period. That's the assumption we're going on. Now, how would I make the brand split better? I mentioned this off air to you. NXT, they're not part of the draft, even though that's what an actual draft is. They're drafting actual rookies or people who are untested. But we have an episode of NXT that has both Raw and SmackDown on it that is drafting from them. So we have an NXT special episode where only NXT call-ups are happening. And that way they're not a part of the trade between promotions, even though we're still going to call it a draft between promotions. That's my first thing. Make NXT a separate, but part of the whole week. So it's a big, week-long thing. Raw has an episode. SmackDown has an episode of trades that we're still calling the draft. But NXT has an episode of call-ups, which is actually a draft. Bandana, I'll give you the next point.
I mean, I've been trying to think back, when the drafts matter, and that was early 2000s. And it was, we've hit this gong a million times on them, but like it is to make brand extension matter. Draft does not mean anything if what Ken's already said. I think, but I mean, like I said, go further. Like you really, not only does there need to be two separate rosters, the shows need to have different feels. I think that's what NX what makes
they need to be different experiences.
Yeah, I think that's what
viewing and live experience.
Agreed.
I think that's why NXT is able to continue to cultivate a fan base.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they lose stars and then those stars go get lost in this shuffle.
Yeah.
And so to me, what would make then the draft exciting about that is like, oh, I get to see. Let's just say Raw is the more hardcore, less rules show. Oh man, I get to go. Now I can see LA Knight in this role. Oh, now I can. How is Cody Rhodes going to respond to being on a edgier show? Oh man, I really think Solo Sikoa should be on the edgier show. Oh, I really think that Drew McIntyre might be better on a show where he can be a very clean face.
Okay, so distinction,
distinction.
Hardcore distinction though, like
hardcore, like not just red and blue, like
right.
Like I need
more than a t-shirt, more than the t-shirt.
Yeah, and I really and be very clear, like honestly, the women's tag team titles, I think should just be a Raw title. I think like I don't even think there should be a title that goes between brands because I think, and I say Raw because it's 3 hours and there's just more space for that. I'm all for always cleaning up the belt picture. I think companies or WWE, if they got the brands like really locked and had their titles, I think they would be fine for the most part. AEW, oh my god.
Let's not even talk about their.
They need a new like that. I think it was Conrad on one of his videos that talked about like Tony Khan is keeping the wrestling belt industry in big money because like every 3 weeks he's like, here's the Sheboygan International Chili Cook-Off title.
I agree with you, but okay.
I will say, JB. Okay, so if the argument is that Raw is longer, so that there's just a women's tag chip at Raw, right? I still would like to see another singles belt added for the women on SmackDown.
That's good compromise.
Yeah.
It just has to be. The women get a secondary title singles.
At least in some ways equitable. SmackDown. I don't think that there's a need to be a exact mapping over from the existing titles.
Yeah.
Because I think that you honestly, truly, you have to build the titles to the roster in the depth chart you have now. You know what I mean? That's the only way to be smart with it so that you're not muddying up storyline with always having to figure out and explain to everybody what's happening with the belt.
I'm actually
but I also will say, I just want to share real quick the only thing that needs to happen to me to make the brand split matter or compelling for me as a viewer, right? And I can only speak for me, and I don't know if you guys agree with me or not. But like you said, we've rung the gong over and over again about like making brand extension matter. But only one thing beyond that needs to happen to make it compelling for me. It needs to be purely a rookie call up, and I think that's in direct opposition to something you said, Ken. But I would be fine if the draft was an event like the Hall of Fame ceremony, where it was a legitimate rookie call up, where maybe even the rookie and their families and the rest of the company doesn't know where they're going. So it's a legitimate, exciting moment because they get to celebrate this call up and this new information with the people that mean more. It just makes it more real. It creates more moments to, you know what I mean?
I'm like 100% on board with that, honestly.
Yeah.
But just within the context of my original thing, where there's a special episode of CW on CW or wherever it's airing. So whatever you just said fits within mine, but there's still a trade.
I would say it have to feel like a graduation, so it can't be it can't. For me, it has to be if it is the honor of being called up to the main roster. It has to be something other than the broadcast that they do weekly. You know what I mean? Even if it's a special episode. That's why I say they should make it a part of WrestleMania. That's when you have the most eyes on the WWE, and you can really make it a prestigious moment for them. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I got you.
Well,
I think it can fit within my context though too, as well. But I liked your I like your idea.
It will work.
Yeah,
it will work.
It will work. I need to play devil's advocate here for a second.
You do be devil's advocate, but please do it.
There is one perspective of this that we're clearly coming from fan perspective. There is a business side of that just does not work. Because what if you had this CW special, what you're saying is, hey, here's your star on the CW. They're now on USA. Hey, here's your person.
Well, that's what they do. That's what they're doing regardless. I mean, Braun Breaker.
And you actually made the point about why they don't have to worry about that.
Well, I think CW does have to worry about it, but and just keep somebody there all the time. Adam Cole,
first of all,
Adam Cole should have stayed on NXT forever. But Braun Breaker,
the point isn't truly to make stars to sustain individual stars to sustain the CW. You know what I mean, for a long time. It is a developmental brand. We are developing talent. Yeah. And if we're doing our job, we are consistently developing talent that will replace the place.
They are not equals.
The talent that we. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they are not equals. I don't buy that.
At the end of the day,
you are not equal.
I mean, this is for the draft as a whole, and then to take it to another level, shareholders. We can talk about Triple H's. I think Triple H is one of the best bookers in a long time because I think he is very old school in a lot of ways and has a love for the game. At the same time, he is going to have some millionaire somewhere, billionaire, who has a lot of shares in TKO going, hey, this Cody Rhodes figure is making us a lot of money. And a lot of people are turning in on Monday nights. He works for us. Why isn't he on Friday nights? He works for us. There is going to be a perspective where somebody with the money involved. And I think that's that.
Can I ask, and maybe we have to omit this from the pod because I don't want to look stupid. But why wasn't that the case with a Roman Reigns? I know that it's a situation.
That's actually a solid point. That's not.
I assume that it's a situation where his contract.
Yeah, but that I would say
because
Cody will go. Cody will go anywhere. You could literally ask Cody.
That's what I'm saying. I think
Cody would show up here right now if WWE asked him to.
Yeah, I think a part of his wrestling presentation is kind of being I'm always there, kind of I'm always ready to go, kind of. You know what I mean? And so I just think that that's a part of his character, and that's kind of where he wants to be as a professional. But why wasn't that the case with somebody like Roman?
I would be curious what his contract looks like. And
that's
also
what it is.
Yeah, I mean Fox. We're at the tail end of this, and the Fox relationship is ended. They touted a lot of money coming from Fox.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it to me, it's very possible Fox is we want your top superstar on our show, and we don't want them going anywhere else.
Yeah.
We want we're giving you billions upon billions. I mean, there is
that's a possibility, and it actually did kind of happen when so they're on Fox and Peacock was about to get a Hell in the Cell episode, because they get Hell in the Cell. But that's NBC. So now NBC is getting Hell in the Cell. Fox actually got mad about it, and that's why the Roman Reigns Rey Mysterio match got moved to SmackDown, because they were like, if NBC, because they don't see Premium Live Event, they see NBC got SmackDown or got Hell in the Cell. We want Hell in the Cell too. So that's why that actually happened. So what you're saying is very feasible, and it can actually happen. However, I hope that The Rock and Triple H are actually buddies, because you've got two people who actually are old school. Rock had $7 in his pocket. Triple H wanted a last name, and the guy was like, "Why?" So it's like these people, Rock and Triple H, they're not just attitude era people. They know old school, they know new school, they know everything, and they'll fight for certain things.
Yeah,
I believe.
Well, and I think,
and they're millionaires. They made a lot of money, and they enjoy being millionaires. So like they can see it from perspectives that we can't.
I think they can, but I mean, they can see it. Rock is not the only shareholder of TKO. Rock, that's he's on the board of directors, which Triple H has admitted that actually helps them out a lot because Triple H has a easier time communicating his vision to someone who knows wrestling, who then can help. And The Rock is
unless Triple H is just saying that because he has to. However, I do feel that it's true.
Yeah, I have never seen anything that would tell me that those. I think especially at this age that these guys are all at.
I mean,
that they all respect the fact that they created.
I hope so. I do know
one of them.
I do know Rock had beef with Shawn Michaels, legitimate beef because Shawn Michaels was an asshole.
I mean, he just put it in a show a few years ago, so it's something that. I mean, I'm not saying he's probably over.
I hope so.
Who hasn't, though? I mean, that's another thing. Who hasn't said that they had heat with Shawn Michaels at some?
But
Shawn Michaels has even gone, "I was a dick."
I know. I'm just hoping. But of all the times
he had to have the whole Jesus makeover.
All the times I've ever heard,
man.
All the times, like, Rock has always been like, he's so giving, he's so this, until it came to Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels was like the only dude I've ever heard The Rock really be like, and I've never even heard The Rock say anything, but behind the scenes, he's the only one. So I'm just saying, I think it is definitely over because, hey, Rock can have him fired right now, and Shawn Michaels is doing great work. So I'm just saying, like, I hope they're good.
No, I hope they're good. I am just saying that someone with no wrestling knowledge can get involved and screw this up.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
And they are still beholden. They are a little more beholden to those people who have TKO stock. A lot of TKO stock.
I think Rock and Triple H will hold them off. I do worry. I do really worry about what happens after we're dead. Because it's actually when Triple H and Rock are gone, that's when WWE is actually gonna start to crumble. Hopefully, it doesn't.
Oh, you mean when they hire Cody?
No, like when Triple H
when they hire Cody. I will also say we got about 10 minutes left.
Oh man, really?
Because of JB's hard stop, and we might want to hit the Tony Khan.
Yeah, we gotta. Okay, well. This is good. This is good. I'm actually enjoying. We can talk. So we didn't get to 3 of your points to make the draft better, but I think all 3 of us set a point. So you add that up, we got 3 points.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is our first time talking to each other like this, so this is fun. So the TK thing setup is the Tony Khan. He finally appeared on air. He has appeared on air, but more of an in-ring capacity. He was attacked by Jack Perry, who he had sent off to New Japan after the altercation between Jack Perry and CM Punk, Real Glass, Crimea River, Real Fight, which eventually domino effect to CM Punk and WWE. So Jack Perry comes back, punches TK, the New Bucks, who are now playing up the evil vice president role, give him a TK pile driver, a spike pile driver, right before the NFL draft, football being fake sports, and the Tony actually went with a neck brace to the NFL sports and said that Pepsi, they're like Pepsi, and Vince or WWE is like Harvey Weinstein. We won't get into the nature of who Harvey Weinstein is, other than he was probably a really bad person who took advantage of people.
And I wasn't gonna say nothing about that, but I think it's real funny for Tony to say that as a person that employs Chris Jericho, and that other guy who said that wild stuff about Liv. I don't even remember what that guy.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Oh, what's his name? He was Chris Jericho's.
I don't care if he apologized. That's crazy.
You're right. That's
crazy.
He didn't say it about Liv Morgan. He said it about Sasha Banks. It was
Sasha, no, you're right. You're right about that, actually. Yeah.
And it was the
sentiment's insane.
Yeah, and it was a really bad. He said something really, really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, I just think
Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara.
That's the guy's name. I am so not on, other than this shirt, really, not on AEW, that it's hard for me to remember some stuff. Try not to be a hater. I do my best to not be a hater.
I'm
a hater by nature,
to
baby.
be a hater.
I'm a hater by nature, baby.
I am willing to be a hater.
But real quick, I just want to say, because I have the least to say about AEW. In these little wrestling subliminals people be throwing back and forth, you just gotta be careful not to throw like rocks in your glass house. You know what I mean? And everybody got them. That's all I'm saying. And second, somebody got to tell that man that when you're in a neck brace, you don't have full neck mobility. Like, you can't be an owl and be in a neck brace. Somebody has to explain that to like I say, the leadership of a company where no one sells. But you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Go ahead.
That's a fair point. I do give him a pass because he had the balls to actually. I don't give him a pass on the Harvey Weinstein comment. That was inappropriate and he shouldn't have said it. I don't completely villainize him for it, but you're absolutely right about It is kind of hypocritical about the Sammy Guevara thing. But let's have Bandana say something. As you're the biggest AEW fan among us.
I was at the first Dynamite. I was at the Full Gear after that. I've been to more AEW shows than I think WWE shows. Tony Khan, the larger his voice has gotten, the more I felt the product has gone under.
Okay.
Just hands down. When he would always come up out after a show, had stopped taping or transmitting or whatever, and try to hype up the crowd, and he's just like, dude. Tony Khan, is a rich kid who thinks he's accomplished a lot, hands down. And what he's accomplished is spending dad's money. Every opportunity that is at Tony's feet is because he's his dad's kid.
Which I will say, though, if I had a rich dad, I would 100% take his money.
Yeah, I'd
probably buy a wrestling promotion.
Hell yeah. So I can't throw so much shade at him.
I can't. Right. Well, But what we have talked about, is this persona and this complete lack of awareness.
Yes, that I will admit to.
I mean, he is. He like I said, he thinks he's accomplished a lot, and honestly, he spent his dad's money. He recognized the talent of Cody, Kenny, and the Young Bucks, and I'm not a fan of the Young Bucks, but I recognize they made themselves successful in a way without the WWE that not a lot of wrestlers in the 20 years since WCW collapsed could do.
Yeah, well, they were Matt Cardona before Matt Cardona.
Yeah, I respect that. But that being said, Tony is, he's so clearly up Dave Meltzer's. He believes Dave Meltzer is the wrestling messiah. And Dave Meltzer, I don't have a problem with Dave. I have a problem with the world thinking Dave Messiah. That's a good wrestling name. Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer is the be-all, end-all on wrestling.
Yeah.
A 5-star match from Dave Meltzer. Sure, you've had a great match. You probably didn't sell a lot of tickets.
I'm sorry, and I hate for the AEW hater to jump out of me, but that's gonna be something that we're gonna experience. But and maybe you can clear this up for me, right? Because I wanna respect Tony Khan on the basis that, like you said, he was able to recognize the talent of those folks and to invest towards the future of that, and his money or his father's money via him, right, has been able so far to sustain this alternative, right? So right now we still have an alternative to the WWE, in part because of Tony Khan, right? So I want to respect that. But then shooting way off of your point into Dave Meltzer, right? It's just how can you be given? How can Will Ospreay have so many 5-star matches and the psychology of what he does is so lacking so many times. When you run up a guy's front, you barely touch him. And I know I'm making a Jim Cornette ass point, you know what I mean? But when you run up a guy's stomach and you barely even touch him, and it's just like, I can do this really cool flippy thing with my body, not I'm immediately telling a story with this person that's with me. Like, how can, you know what I mean? I just if wrestling is basically storytelling, I struggle with that.
Yeah, no, there's another long shot about Will Ospreay. I have many mixed feelings. He's very talented and can do jumpy flippy stuff. And I will never ever be able to do. And where, what has he done for the art form? Another conversation. That being said,
they're gonna have a huge problem when they have to figure out Ospreay versus
Tony Khan
versus your boy John.
Yeah, Tony Khan has not set himself up to develop a company that's in there. Yeah, what he has done is he's set up a thing for his friends to watch. Those times where he comes out at the end of the shows, it's just like it always reminds me of the '94 Macaulay Culkin Richie Rich, where like all the inner city kids come to play with Richie Rich, and it turns out the butler paid for him. And that's and
I never saw that movie.
But if Tony really wanted to recognize and grow AEW, I feel like it's time for him to recognize and hire people that have been in the industry, and he's done that on some fronts lately. But from a creative booking spot, like all he cares about is getting to cool flippy shit.
Yeah, and what's crazy is he actually has the people, Dean Malenko, or he's had them at least, Dean Malenko, Jerry Lynn. He's had a ton of them, but he doesn't have the ear though, because he only is listening to Young Bucks and Chris Jericho.
He wants to run a company. He wants to run a wrestling company, hands down. He wants to be a booker. And anyone who has said he's Booker of the Year is ridiculous. I mean, he's had some great matches happen on AEW.
He does get some good. He does make good pay-per-view matches, but he does not know how to make a pay-per-view match matter to our heart.
Yeah, I went to Revolution, which I think is hands down AEW's best pay-per-view that they've ever put on. Looking at it afterwards, I'm like, none of these things other than Sting's retirement told the story for next week. Nothing
mattered.
It's trying to do this real sports thing that is popular in Japan, but the Japanese culture is geared towards it, which we as wrestling fans in America, we are geared towards an entertainment storytelling
moments that touch us.
Right.
I still remember Macho Man going off the top rope 7 times on the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 7. I still remember Undertaker missing the camera guy and almost getting counted out against Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 24, 25. It's like, that's what matters.
Well, and I mean,
to me,
WWE and AEW, their differences are so easily seen in the use of Bryan Danielson or Daniel Bryan, whatever you want to call him.
That's a good point.
Bryan Danielson recognized in WWE, he became a really good entertainer. He could do all kinds of wrestling crap that I love. I want to be very clear. But he was an the move that got the man over, the man of 1,000 moves got over with this as his move.
100%, 100%.
And he goes to AEW and he's back to kind of that more indie mindset of having great matches, but like he's irrelevant now.
It's crazy. Other than CM Punk, CM Punk, nobody. AEW just sucks the professionalism out of you, and that's why.
Can I jump in here and say real quick that with everything you're saying, that you guys are saying, if they wanted to go in a different direction, they have a huge opportunity in Ospreay versus Max.
Oh, yeah. But I
have a huge. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Honestly, I want to respect Bandana's time. Yeah. He has to get going.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, that being said, they have a roster. I'm going to cut you off since you said you were respecting me, and I'm not going to respect you.
That's fine.
AEW has a huge opportunity. Their roster is stacked. The roster is fine. You can make Ospreay a star. I mean, he's got the gifts. a little coaching and a little more like emphasis on storage. I mean, he could be the next Daniel Bryan
100%.
if you got him to be an entertainer instead of a 5-star developer. That's and that to me is like the 5-star is an opinion. Like, if you're trying to cultivate one person's opinion, that's fine. But the difference between WWE is they're trying to cultivate fans that spend money. And I love AEW because I think AEW is vital for good wrestling because WWE works better when they have a competitor.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah, that was the turnaround. Honestly, I did even a video that 2019 sucked, and it was like that's when AEW started.
John.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's.
I'm joking.
No. In terms of wrestling, the little bit of training I've been given, I am a huge, I'm nearly Republican, as in terms because the art is drawing money.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And that's.
There's a thing in business where you can put the art first. However, you can't do it without the people and without the business. And you have to profit, people, business. All three have to be equally important or almost equally important.
Yeah.
And you can't let the people decide everything, but they can change your thing to get Cody versus Roman, and that can make money. But if you're not going to make money, then you just got to keep it with The Rock and Roman, and then the people, blah, blah, blah. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah. But yeah, you are right. We are hitting I've got to go down for my 3 here.
Okay, so let me just end it. I'll post this. We'll come up with another one. We'll do it again. The only final thing I want to say about Dave Meltzer, what you were talking about earlier, I think Dave Meltzer was like Vince McMahon. Let's not even get into what Vince is currently involved in right now. But at one point, Vince was a genius. He was awesome. He was doing creatively great things, and Dave was kind of that same way when it came to the reporting. I feel though that the older they got, the more they lost touch, and that's why I think a lot of his 5-star matches, like I don't even value his opinion anymore on matches. That's my last take on it. But guys, I really appreciate it, John.
I think it's great to value his opinion, but recognize it's an opinion. Like there are other people who, I cannot knock the fact that Dave Meltzer knows a lot about wrestling more than I. But to hold him up as the all litmus test when he caters to, guys like us, the more hardcore demographic, and does not give a crap about expanding the art form outside, and that's what WWE and WCW were able to do. We're able to get people to watch.
There you go. That's
outside of wrestling fans, and AEW is not in a place that's going to do that. Right now.
Yeah, I like that better.
And I hate that because I think Swerve Strickland could be. I think Swerve Strickland could be one of the greatest heel champions of all time, and could be entertaining enough to get people to look over and go. Hey, people that are like, this WWE thing's fine. It's kind of vanilla. Oh man, this Swerve Strickland over here is killing it. And the kind of same thing they had with MJF, they just never really capitalized on it.
Yeah, MJF went from like red hot to just he hit a ceiling.
Yeah.
The absolute last thing I will say as we end is I would like a video of us just sitting with John Brown and just letting him book or really produce MJF versus Ospreay and how they could make those two styles and philosophies about wrestling matter.
Let's maybe the next podcast or something. I think we got a lot. Maybe the next podcast could just be AEW focused. I feel like we got a lot more to say, but I don't know. We'll see. But let's just cut it, guys. I appreciate you both here, viewers at home. Appreciate you. Please give us acknowledge the podcast by acknowledging the subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and we are counting out. Yes. See you later. Have a good day.